Today. I'm Dr. Dave Beasley. I'm the recruitment and admissions specialist here at the UNLV Grad College. Please call me Dave. I am not, as you'll see as we go, I'm not the most formal guy in the world. I'm so glad that you could join us today. So what we've got here is a presentation of about 20 or 25 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. But I promise I will come up for air at some point during this. Just to sort of go over a little bit about UNLV and about graduate study here at UNLV, and then we'll definitely have some time for you all to ask questions and for us to go over some of those answers. One thing I will say is, if you have questions along the way, we'll ask that you hold them until the end. That said, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you're like me and you're afraid that you may not be able to remember them in 15 or 20 minutes, go ahead and drop them in the chat now, and we will get to them as we go. So let's sort of dive right in here and talk a little bit about graduate studies at UNLV. So the first thing I want to talk to you all about is the prestigious R1 ranking that UNLV holds, and that comes to us from the Carnegie Classification of Institutions of Higher Education. That is the gold standard for research universities. There's only 131 R1 universities in the country, and UNLV is one of them, and we are very, very proud of that. We'll talk for just a second here in a couple of minutes about picking a program, but pretty much no matter what your background is and no matter what you're looking to study, chances are we have something for you at UNLV, because we do offer more than 175 graduate degree and certificate programs, and that includes more than 40 doctoral and professional programs. And I'll also mention as well that I myself am a grad rebel grad. I did my doctoral work here at UNLV. So I'm an alum of the UNLV Department of English and UNLV more broadly in the grad college. And so I'm happy to sort of answer questions about what grad student life is like at UNLV as well. UNLV, as you probably know, is among the most diverse universities in the country, according to US News and World Report. We're currently second. We're tied for second. There's a bunch of schools bunched up there together. We're hoping to be first again. We've been first in the past. We're hoping to get there again. Last year we were fourth, so this year we're second, and we're really, really proud of that here at UNLV. A lot of programs and a lot of jobs even will ask you about, experiences with diversity or what that means to you, and that's something that we're really committed to at UNLV. And so if you come to UNLV, that won't be something that'll be a hypothetical for you. It'll be something that'll be part of your lived experience every day. And we're big believers here that our diversity is part of what makes us so special. We also offer a professional development academy for our graduate students. These are certificate programs, career support, workshops, training. I'll talk a little more about those as we go, but we don't want you just to be, we want you to get a great education here, but we don't think that our responsibility to you ends there. We want you to be ready to walk out of our doors, right? To walk across the stage at commencement, to get that degree, that certificate, and then walk right into your brand new job or your brand new career, right? So we do a lot of things for you as we go here, in addition to the really excellent education that you get in our programs. And then finally, if community research is important to you, it's important for you to be involved in the community. And you're all here at Nevada State, so you're already familiar with Las Vegas, with Southern Nevada, and the community here. We do a lot of work in the community, and so we have the community engagement classification from the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. And we're one of only 119 universities in the country to have that classification as well. So we're really, really proud of that. So that's kind of UNLV at 10,000 feet. Let's zoom in a little bit more and talk about sort of what graduate studies are like at UNLV. So you're going to have the opportunity to learn from nationally and internationally recognized faculty in highly ranked programs. We have some really amazing programs here at UNLV. We have a top 10 music school. We have the #1 hospitality college in the country. It's #2 in the world. Can I interest anybody in that? We have a top 100 part-time MBA program. We have a top 60 doctor of physical therapy program. The list goes on and on and on of our really highly ranked programs. And I've been in and around UNLV since 2011. And I've had the opportunity to travel with faculty, mainly from the English department, but also from other programs and other departments. And one of the things I'm most consistently impressed by is how well known and how well respected our faculty are in their fields. So really, you've got a chance to learn from some really great faculty here. We do work a lot with local employers. We partner with them. There are internships that are available depending on your program. It's hard to say a lot about that right now because of the pandemic, but we do want to get all those things fired back up again, just as soon as we can. I wish our campus was more open. I wish I could do campus tours and I could show you all our great labs, research centers, and libraries. But we do have a lot of really great spaces here for you. So if you're looking at a science program, we have some amazing labs. If you're looking at our hospitality programs, we just opened the Blackfire Innovation Center. That's a public-private partnership between us and Caesars that allows our hospitality students and some students from other programs as well to get like real-world experience and to sort of try things out. It's a really exciting place. And then we have amazing libraries here on campus. So if you're interested in our architecture program, for example, we have an architecture library here on campus. If you're interested in our music program, we have a music program here on campus. We also have amazing libraries throughout the campus, including our main library, which is Lead Library. We have over 1 million print volumes in our collection. We have access to over 1 million online volumes. We also have access to over 80,000 periodicals, journals, and scholarly publications through subscriptions to hundreds of academic databases. Like I said earlier, I did my doctoral work here. My work was on 18th century British fiction. And I was able to do pretty much all of my studies from right here at UNLV. I will admit I did go to Southern California for a couple of weeks to do a little bit of dissertation research. I took one for the team there, but those are the sacrifices we make in graduate school, right? We go to the beach for a couple of weeks for research. Also, now you may think, okay, Dave, this is all sounding good, but I work for a living. When am I supposed to do all of this, right? So you'll have the chance to enroll in afternoon or evening classes. A number of our programs have exclusively evening classes. For example, our MBA program, all of their classes start after 5:30 p.m. Our education programs, most of them are heavy late afternoon and evening classes as well, because many of the students there are teaching during the day, right? So a 1 o'clock class doesn't do them a lot of good. Also, we have a number of online programs as well. So if you have questions about those, we can certainly go over some of those. You'll have the opportunity to gain hands-on experience through our graduate assistantships, and I'll talk more about what those are and how they work here in just a couple of minutes. But we do have over 1,000 graduate assistantships here at UNLV. And if you're looking, that's really a good way to go to grad school. If you're looking for help paying for grad school, trying to figure out how to do that, graduate assistantships are the way to go. That's where we pay you to go to school. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. And then finally, you'll have the opportunity to develop some really amazing relationships with faculty and classmates. And I know that that's probably something that you could do at just about any graduate school, but I do think there's something special that happens here at UNLV. So during this pandemic, these last 7 months, I have been in touch with folks that I did my PhD with that are spread all over the country. We still keep up with each other. Some of us are still local. We've organized hikes up into Lee Canyon, masked up and socially distanced, of course. I've been in touch with my dissertation director during all this time. So I think you'll really get a chance to really, keep some of those, to develop and keep some really great friendships here with us at UNLV. Let's talk about earning potential too, because we're going to talk about what it costs to go to grad school here in just a couple minutes, but I want to talk about earning potential for just a second before we do that, because sometimes I think we can look at cost and we can really sort of be concerned about it. So if you're anything like me, you probably remember hearing in high school about 1 million times, everybody saying, you've got to work hard, you've got to get good grades so you can get into a good college, so you can earn a bachelor's degree and get a good job because you'll just make so much more money. And those folks were absolutely right who told us that, right? So according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the difference in career earnings between a high school diploma and a bachelor's degree, when you control for all kinds of variables, comes out to about $670,000 over the course of your career. That's pretty substantial, right? What they didn't tell us, or at least what they didn't tell me, was that if you do a grad degree, you almost double that again. So the difference in career earnings between a bachelor's degree and a graduate degree is an additional $620,000, right? So that's definitely something to think about. Now, maybe that's a big number for you and it's sort of hard to get your head around that, or maybe you're mid-career, right? Maybe you're like me and you went back to grad school after being out in the working world a little bit. And so maybe you want to look at it in terms of median annual earnings. Well, if we look at it that way, for a bachelor's degree, it's about 62,000. For a master's degree, it's about 75. For a professional degree, it's about 98. And for a doctoral degree, it's about 95,000. So again, these are big national averages, but you can see that there are some real differences in terms of what you can expect to make. So I would encourage you to keep that in mind as you think about what grad school is going to cost. So let's talk about how to select a program, because as I mentioned earlier, we have 175 of them. So it can be sort of tough to figure out which ones for you. So the first thing is, if you're sort of stuck, I would encourage you to think about your interests and your strengths. Think about the kind of work you want to do and what your skill sets are, right? And then think about sort of the jobs that go with those things, right? That go with those skill sets. Or maybe you know somebody that has a job that you really think is a cool job. Maybe you reach out to them and say, hey, what kind of degrees do I need for that job? Like, what, did you go to graduate school? If you did, what degree did you get, right? But think about the fields that complement your skill sets. Think about who you know that works in those fields that maybe you could reach out to and, talk to them on the phone. And just sort of pick their brain about different things or different recommendations. We have a lot of grad college workshops and drop-in sessions. We are more than happy to help you figure out which program's right for you. So you're already ahead of the curve by just coming and being here with us today. In addition to that, each of our programs has a website. So once you sort of figure out the degrees that you think you might be interested in, I would encourage you to visit all of those program websites. It's really easy. You can just Google them, right? So let's say you're interested in the MBA degree here at UNLV, the MIS, the Management and Information Systems degree, and maybe you're also interested, in a computer science degree or something like that, right? Go to each of those websites. Also, you want to make sure that you check out the deadlines. So unlike undergrad, where there's like one big deadline for the whole school, graduate school, you're really applying to a specific program. And so each program has different deadlines. So at UNLV, a number of just about all of our programs have accept applications for the fall. But a number of them also accept spring applications. So if anybody's graduating this semester, first of all, congratulations. And secondly, there are over 50 programs at UNLV that are still accepting applications for spring. So, definitely check out those deadlines. Also, each program has a program coordinator. This is a designated faculty member who's there to work with the graduate students in the program and to recruit people into it. So they're a great resource for program-specific questions, right? If you're looking at things and you're like, hey, who should I get to write my letters of recommendation? We're always happy to help you here at the grad college, but for things like that, we're probably going to direct you to your graduate coordinator. And I'm happy to get you hooked up with your graduate coordinator as well. You can always look over all the degree requirements in the graduate catalog. And if you have additional questions or if you want help narrowing down, sort of what your options are, you can schedule a meeting with us. One of the members of our team will be happy to meet with you. Just send us an email at gradrecruitment@unlv.edu. If you want to schedule that meeting with me, just put somewhere in the email, I want to talk to Dave. Also, if after hearing this, if you've had enough of hearing me, you can also say, hey, schedule me with anybody but Dave. They won't rat you out, I promise, okay? All right, so let me tell you about our Graduate and Professional Student Association. Right, we mentioned earlier some of the support that we have available for you here at UNLV. And so our GPSA is a big part of that. They serve all currently enrolled UNLV graduate and professional students. Membership is automatic. And we really encourage you to use GPSA as a resource. They were a great resource for me when I was a grad student here. They work to promote and represent the interests of grad and professional students all over our campus. They support academic endeavors, like they'll help with conference funding or things like that. Or if you need to go someplace to do some research or to do some CV building or things like that, you can apply for them for some funding. They also work to provide an environment conducive to student scholarship and research. They offer free certificate programs, career support, workshops, and training. So really encourage you to take advantage of them as a resource. In addition to that, we also have the Graduate College Professional Development Academy. And they offer really all kinds of programs. I've just sort of picked out a few of them here. But they offer support certifications in the area of research, teaching, mentorship, and/or communication. So you can do, an additional certificate if that's something that's that you're interested in. If you want to help build our community, we have the Grad Rebel Ambassadors. They help me out with recruitment events, but they also work to strengthen ties between alumni and the school. They work to strengthen ties between graduate students and undergrads. They just do a lot of really, really great stuff. We have the Grad Rebel Writing Boot Camp. If you're sort of looking at a program, or if you're worried about that thesis or that dissertation, this is a biannual event. We do it once in August and once in January. It's a week-long program that assists students working on major writing pieces. So it could be a thesis, a dissertation, it could be a publication, it could be a professional paper, whatever it is, right? That program has a nominal fee of $100, but if you come for the entire week and do what we ask you to do, we give you your money back. So it's a pretty good gig there. And then we have that postgraduate career pathways program, which I cannot recommend enough. So again, we talked about earlier, not only wanting you to get a great education, but wanting you to be ready to step out and to go right into that new career, or right into that big new promotion, that big new job that your grad degree is going to help you get. So that's a year-long professional development program, and it helps you explore and prepare for a bunch of different career options. We really encourage you to do all of these. Almost all of these programs are free, or they have very, very small fees, because we sort of, many of us here at the grad college were once graduate students ourselves. Some of us still are graduate students. And so we definitely get that, that money is definitely a factor when you're a student. So I want to go over our admission requirements really quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about paying for graduate school and some next steps and things like that, and then we'll have time for your questions. So here is what we require. Now that said, different programs may have higher requirements, okay? But we require a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution. Nevada State College most certainly qualifies as one of those, so you'll be all set to come to us with your Nevada State degree. We have a lot of Nevada State alums that are already with us, and we hope that you all will join them here. We need a 2.75 overall GPA or a 3.0 over the course of your last 60 credits. So if you go full-time, that's about your last 2 years. We know that college doesn't always start out well for folks, right? Sometimes folks maybe party too much. Sometimes they just get overwhelmed. It's more work. Sometimes life happens, right? And it's just sort of things that are out of our control. So if college didn't start that well, but if you ended well, we'll sort of work with you on the GPA, right? If you have that 3.0 over the last 60 credits, you can take advantage of what I like to call our freshman forgiveness program. If you don't quite meet that, if you're close to 2.75 or close to that 3.0 over the last 60 credits, but you're not quite there, definitely still reach out to us. All hope is not yet lost. A number of our programs will work with you a little bit on that. We will need transcripts from each post-secondary institution that you attended. Unofficials are fine for the application. And so if you did any of your academic work at a school outside the United States, we probably will need a foreign credential evaluation. And if you're an international student, we do have I can get you hooked up with my colleague, Lori Filippo. She's our international recruitment and admissions specialist. Lori's awesome. And then there are additional factors which are determined by your program. And that's why it's really important to go to that program website that we talked about earlier, reach out to that coordinator, because they can walk you through those additional things, right? Some programs might want you to take the GRE or the GMAT. They might want you to provide a writing sample or a personal statement. Almost all of them are going to require letters of recommendation, things like that. If you're not sure about that stuff, or if you're not sure where to start on it, we do have a number of regular workshops, and I'll show you a slide here later with the upcoming schedule on it. I really encourage you to come to some of our workshops where we go over different parts of the application process. My mother is fond of saying nobody's born knowing how to do certain things. That's why they have classes for it. And so we have workshops for it as well, right? Because we know that the graduate application process can be a little daunting sometimes. Okay, so let's talk about how you pay for UNLV. So first of all, I want to take just a minute to talk about the fact that not all graduate schools cost the same, right? Different schools cost different amounts of money, right? And that's based on a variety of factors. So I just want to do a quick comparison here between UNLV and UCLA. And this is not to knock UCLA in any way. It's a fine academic institution, but we picked it because it's similar in size, it's similar in profile, and it's regional. So sort of to do a comparison with. So you see as a UNLV, Graduate student, if you're a Nevada resident, you're going to look at about $6,500 a year. If you're not a Nevada resident, I imagine most if not all of you are, but just in case, if you're not, it's about $22,000. And if your eyes just bugged out of your head and you said, Dave, I'm out of state, I can't afford that, hang in there with me. I'm going to have good news for you coming up, I think, so hang in there. But you can compare that to UCLA. For a California resident, it's going to be $17,000. And for a non-California resident, it's going to be $32,000. So again, UCLA is a great school, but it's just a matter of sort of looking at what your costs are and understanding sort of that all graduate schools don't charge the same amount for things. So let's talk about how you pay for UNLV, right? We have $21 million in annual funding for over 1,000 GA positions. And again, if you're sort of worried about paying for grad school, boy, this is the way to do it. If you can get a graduate assistantship, we pay you to go to school. So here's what you get. You get an annual stipend of between $11,000 and $20,000 a year. Included in that as well. And the amount, by the way, varies based on your degree program, the program that hires you, or the campus unit that hires you, right? You get full or partial tuition coverage. If you get a GA for both semesters, it covers your tuition for both semesters. If you get it for one semester, it covers it for one semester, right? So if anybody's joining us from out of state or looking at us from out of state, and your eyes bugged out of your head at $22,000 a year, well, this covers all your out-of-state fees. When I came to UNLV, I came from my home state of Virginia. I was a graduate assistant though, so I never had to pay any out-of-state fees. You also get a registration fee reduction. You get health insurance benefits, summer tuition benefits, bookstore discounts, access to emergency loans, and more, right? So there really are a lot of benefits to being a graduate assistant. And I encourage you to look both in your program, but also look at other campus units. So for example, at the Graduate College, we hire graduate assistants. The Academic Success Center here on campus hires graduate assistants. The Student Union hires graduate assistants. All kinds of campus units hire graduate assistants. So if you're not able to get one through your program, you may be able to get one through somewhere else in the university. We have about 5,000 graduate and professional students and over 1,000 GA positions. So about 20% of our students get funded through GAs. That's a pretty good percentage, I think. If you look around at other graduate schools, it's probably not quite as high as that. But I'll tell you a little secret. I actually think your chances of getting funded are better than 1 in 5. And here's why. I mentioned earlier that we have a lot of afternoon and evening classes because a lot of our folks work full time. Well, folks that are working full time, they don't apply for graduate assistantships, right? So a lot of the folks in our MBA program, they're not interested in it. Now that said, that program does have some GAs, but just a lot of the folks, they don't need that. A lot of the folks in our education programs, even though those programs have GAs, they're already full-time Clark County School District teachers. So I think your odds are actually better than 1 in 5 for that GA. In addition to that, we also have $5.7 million in annual funding through scholarships, fellowships, awards, and grants for our graduate students. So put those two together, that's almost $27 million in funding for graduate students every year. And I know that there's been a lot of budgetary issues and concerns because of the pandemic, to say nothing of the public health, to say nothing of the public health crisis that we're currently going through. But we did not lose a single graduate assistant as a result of the COVID-19 budget cuts here at UNLV. We worked really hard to keep all of those positions, and we're really, really proud of that. So no matter which program you're going to apply for, you're going to do it through our Grad Rebel Gateway. Okay, so you can see a link to that right there. And in there, once you fill out a little bit of personal information, put in the degree type you're going for, pick your program, all that fun stuff, it'll generate a checklist. You just follow that checklist in the admissions portal. You go over any important instructions. You also apply for graduate assistantships in the Grad Rebel Gateway, so it's sort of a one-stop shop for all your application needs. Your application fee is $60 for domestic applicants and $95 for international applicants. Those fees are non-refundable. However, if you are a Fulbright or McNair scholar, we will waive those fees for you. And then you submit your application. And then after that, you get to prove Tom Petty right, because he once wrote that the waiting is the hardest part. So your final to-do list here, if you have additional questions or if you just want to sort of walk through the process a little bit more, you can meet with a member of our recruitment and admissions team. Email us at gradrecruitment@unlv.edu. We're happy to meet with you over the phone or to do it sort of in an online meeting platform like Zoom or WebEx. Also, we are here in the office. If you want to come in and talk to us, we'll be happy to do that. We'll get masked up and stay socially distant, of course, but we will be happy to do that. Definitely go over your program admission requirements and deadlines. Reach out to your program graduate coordinator. And again, if you're not sure who that is, but you know which program you're interested in, let me know and I'll be happy to get you their name and email address. Apply to the graduate college, submit any additional materials, and then wait, hopefully for some very, very good news. I mentioned we do have a number of upcoming events. So later today at 5 o'clock this afternoon, we're going to do Grad School 101 and Paying for Grad School. That's a greatly expanded version of what you just got here. And we go over more things on the paying for part as well. This Thursday from 5 to 7, we're going to do Grad School Applications 201. That's where we talk about how to draft a good personal statement, how to order your transcripts, how to get excellent letters of recommendation. And we also go over the GRE and the GMAT, the English proficiency tests, things like that. And we also have the latest COVID-19 updates on all of those tests. We're going to have a drop-in session on Monday, October 26th. If you haven't already requested some program information, I really encourage you to do that. There's a link there to do that. And then you can see our full schedule of events. And I'll drop the full schedule of events link in the chat as well, because we have coming up in the coming weeks, we have information sessions with our political science program, for our MBA program, for our quantitative finance program, for our healthcare administration program, and a bunch of others. So lots of stuff coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Here's our recruitment and admissions team. We're all happy to meet with you. You can see me there in the center in the middle. If you'd like to talk with somebody about what life is like as a graduate assistant, I'd be happy to get you hooked up with Azarm or Presley, our two recruitment GAs that work with us here in the office 20 hours a week. If you're an international student, it's definitely good to know Lori. She's there in the top right. And then, of course, we have Elizabeth Jost, our Associate Director of Admissions, who's awesome, and Matthew Montalto, our admissions analyst. He's the person that you'll go to with questions about that, about the Grad Rebel Gateway system and things like that. So anybody on our team is more than willing to meet with you, to answer your questions, and to go over, and really, to talk about your future here at UNLV. Again, you can see our contact information there, gradrecruitment@unlv.edu. Our phone number is 702-895-4543. That phone rings right at my desk, so fair warning, you will get stuck with me if you call it. And you can see our physical address there. We are in the office Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. If you'd like to come by and see us, we'd be happy to arrange that. Please do call us or email us in advance, though, so that we can make sure somebody's in the office that day so that you can come in. Thank you all so much for your time and your attention. I'm going to quit sharing my screen now.